Today is World Environment Day, and this year the global environmental organizations are encouraging people to reconnect with nature. However, with one of the worst droughts the African continent has ever faced, the importance of water and taking care of our natural environment has never been more vital. In recent years, we've also witnessed the wildlife poaching statistics increase significantly. And now one of the largest countries and polluters in the world, the United States, have just announced that they are pulling out of the Paris Accord. This aims to prevent global warming and other massive environmental catastrophes. Do we no longer care about connecting and protecting nature and its precious wildlife? Here to talk about the importance of this day, as well as giving us some updates on all things Rhino, award-winning television wildlife presenter and filmmaker, Bonné de Bod. Morning, Bonné. Nice to have you with us.
Yeah, good morning, Eben.
It's quite a rap we're giving you now.
I like that introduction. Thank you very much.
Seriously, though, I want to start and cut to the chase because I think everyone who cares about the environment was really shocked with the attitude displayed by Donald Trump in America when pulling out of the Paris Accord last week. But it's a real setback for those of us that want to save the planet for future generations.
Right. So let's talk about today. You know, I always find it very strange that we have to have a day to remember the environment, you know, and it's such an important day where we can really refocus the mind to take forward the call to protect the earth that we all share. You know, and it really invites us to think about how we are part of nature and how we depend on it, because I do think we tend to forget that sometimes. Now, the theme for today is connecting people to nature, which I think is very appropriate. You mentioned what happened now in the United States with Donald Trump not agreeing to this agreement, the Paris Agreement. So I think it's important for us today to just appreciate the environment and the beauty that is still left on our planet. So I will be taking time out later today from the edit suite to take a walk in one of our city's parks with my dog and just appreciate the environment and which we find all around us, really. So for those of you who are watching, you know, give a thought to nature today, or just go out, take a couple of minutes out of the office and appreciate the environment. But pretty shocking what happened with Donald Trump pulling out.
Yeah, it is, and it's a major setback for everyone that cares about the environment. But your field of expertise, let's talk about rhinos quickly, because it's almost like they're becoming more and more brazen, the poachers. We've seen what happened at Mfolozi Game Reserve with the poaching of a mother in a holding area.
Right. Very shocking. I think people were very outraged, and I think many people are asking the question, how did this happen? As soon as the news broke, in fact, people were taking to social media to vent their anger. Thousands of people commenting and sharing this incredibly shocking and sad news. You know, Eben, I think the ironic part for me is that this happened in a supposedly secure location at the home of the white rhino, the very place where the white rhino was brought back from the brink of extinction in the 1960s. Now, I did the last interview with Dr. Ian Player there at the Bomas, and he was just so incredibly proud of the history those Bomas held. So just very sad that this had to happen. Now, this mother and calf you referred to, they were part of the wild rhinos that were auctioned, captured and auctioned at the Ezemvelo KZN Wildlife's annual auction, and they were sold as a unit for 520,000 rand. But people are asking, you know, I've been to those Bomas many times, as I've mentioned, also over 2 auctions, and the security has always been tight, you know, with armed guards and video cameras. Inside job, then? Is that what it smells like? We have to ask the security question. You know, I don't know if you saw the news reports that came out. They said that Ezemvelo did not give comment. I then contacted the spokesperson. They said they did give comment. And then they emailed me a formal statement outlining as to how this happened in more detail. Basically, 4 armed poachers, heavily armed poachers, disabled 2 security guards that were on the night shift. They were tied up, told to lie down, and then their firearm, radio and a panic button were taken from them before these guys moved in to kill and shoot this mother and calf.
The question that concerns me, and maybe it's a thing that I think we have to extend to everybody, is that can we still trust everyone that's looking after our rhinos, because a lot of the rhino crime seems to be very close to rhinos themselves.
That's a very important question to ask. You know, I think what we must remember is that there are many people on the ground doing amazing work. We can't generalize.
Yeah.
But corruption has infiltrated throughout the system, like in any other industry, basically. What I find very interesting is the fact that if you look at the protection for this mother and calf, I mean, it's R500,000. You know, despite the other animals in the bomas that were auctioned off. The auction brought in 88 million rand. So people on Facebook are commenting about the lack of protection for these valuable animals, asking how can 2 security guards be responsible for millions of rands worth of wild animals, especially with the carnage happening in KZN lately. So I think what has upset people the most is the fact that this mother and calf were wild rhinos. They couldn't run anywhere. They were held captive in a boma at the mercy of the poachers. So we should have done more to protect them. They were basically sitting ducks.
How were they killed?
They were shot. They were shot. The mother's horn was removed. The baby obviously was also shot and killed, but the horn was still intact.
I don't understand that, honestly. Anyhow, the statistics are not getting any better or worse. I don't know how to view the statistics anymore, to be honest with you. But what does the picture look like now?
Well, like you also said earlier, it's becoming more and more apparent that poachers are getting bolder. You mentioned the Tula Tula rehab attack. Now, this incident, it has certainly taken rhino poaching to a whole new level. Now, you're asking the question, how do we change things around? I always say change is a big word, especially when what we are doing doesn't seem to be working. Now, the Kruger Rangers must be thrilled that their work is really paying off, you know, bringing down the poaching numbers in the park. But those in KZN say that because the grip has tightened in Mpumalanga, these criminal syndicates are moving there. They lost 23 rhinos in 12 days at the Sishlui and Mfolozi Reserve. So far this year, 100 rhinos have been poached in KZN, 80% coming from the home of the white rhino. We are dealing with triple figures now, and this is from January up to May.
It shows a level of sophistication with these syndicates, as you call them. It seems as if they target the weaknesses in the system, and that shows a level of sophistication that must be concerning.
Absolutely. So we change one aspect with some success, and it brings chaos somewhere else. What we must remember, rhino poaching, like any other wildlife crime, is a sophisticated, organized criminal activity. It's deeply rooted, yet ever-changing. And it takes advantage of those secretive set structures that we put in place. And that's how we have to approach it. We have to disrupt those networks.
We've seen concerning this weekend also the lions who came to retire in South Africa, the circus lions. 2 of them were killed over the weekend, and it's World Environmental Day today. So how should we get our heads around this day with these kinds of things happening?
You know, we have to again refocus our mind and our responsibility as humanity on this planet. We only have one. You know, there's no planet B. So either we look after it and it is our responsibility, or, well, what are we going to do in 10, 20, 30 years from now? So let's not get to that place. Let's all play our part individually as organizations and you know, make this day what it should be, celebrating our environment.
Bonné, thank you very much for being with us today. Bonné de Bod, award-winning wildlife television presenter and filmmaker, joining us periodically on the Newsroom Show to talk about all things wildlife. Today is World Environmental Day, and what she said a little bit earlier is quite apt, I think. Go out and interact with nature today. Go and have a look at the beautiful colours at this time of year, especially in our parks in and around the big cities. Now, Nigeria